Okay.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams. NYC.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Nick of Time show, where we give it that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. I'm here. Ryan G's in the building. Jay Ellis is back, but my guy came late. He came like in the middle of the game, so he wasn't able to watch the full game. So the full crew will be back for tomorrow's game against the Nuggets. So the Knicks won tonight, 118 to 111, after Julius Randle called the players only meeting and sat down with the players and talked about everybody needs to hold each other beep accountable. And that's what the Knicks did tonight. And it came out with a huge win. As you know, Ryan G's in the building, and I'm here with Lee Escobedo, Posted and Toasted, ESPN. Oh, he's all over the place right now. Lee, say hi to the people.
Man, I've been busy, bro. Great win tonight. Some of the players I really wanted to see have a great game, a good bounce back game, had it, and I was happy for that. But at the end of the day, fire Tibbs right now, like 5 minutes from now, no longer than 10 minutes from now. Like, I want a press conference. My man is out. I know it ain't going to happen, but I am team fire Tibbs, and I won't stop being team fire Tibbs till he's at his house in his bum boxer shorts watching Knicks on TV.
Yeah, definitely the Knicks win tonight. We'll buy Thibs some more time. The seat got a little bit less hot with the win tonight. So I'm going to go through the Knicks stats right quick. So the Knicks were led tonight by Jalen Brunson, 25 points, 8 assists, had some huge buckets in the fourth quarter to help get the Knicks over the hump. Cam Reddish again with a big game, 19 points. Julius Randle, 15 points, 5 rebounds. RJ Barrett, 18 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, despite being under the weather. Jericho Sims, big double-double, 11 points, 13 rebounds. Quickly had some big threes in the fourth quarter as well, 13 rebounds, 3 assists. And Obi Toppin, he only had 9 points, but it seemed like my man scored more than 9 points with the way he played tonight. So big up Obi Toppin as well.
Got yanked right when he was playing really well. Had the highest plus minus on my team. Tibbs yanked his ass for Randall. Unbelievable. Inexcusable.
Yeah, as you know, Thibs beat Thibbin, but this is the one game where Thibbin did not come to bite the Knicks in the ass. So I think the first thing we should talk about is the defensive effort tonight. As you know, last game against OKC, the defense was basically atrocious. Probably the worst defense the Knicks played all season. Gave up 145 points to the Thunder, but tonight they only gave up 111 to the Jazz, and clearly there was better defensive effort on the court. So what do you think about the Knicks defense tonight, Lee?
Yeah, I think most of they contained Utah's point of attack, which is Lauri Markkanen, who's shooting career high shooting splits across the board. And I think 21 points per game is their leading scorer. They did a good job of containing him, which left some opportunities open for Kelly Olynyk to nail some threes and kind of have a great overall game with a double-double, 27 and 10. But for the most part, they did a good job containing their very high-scoring backcourt in Conley and Clarkson. And also Colin Sexton wasn't really a factor at all after averaging 14 as a first star off the bench. He was contained at 3 points. But most of all, it was their defense, which I'll give some credit to Julius Randle as well as Obi and Sims in their minutes. Did a good job containing Markkanen, who has been able to scorch just about everyone that he's played against with his combination of footwork and high IQ around the rim and his rim reads, finding cutters, his ability to spray out to open shooters. He's been kind of a point forward for them while also being a really huge offensive threat at 7 feet tall with a good handle and good coordination. And we did a good job containing him. So you contain him and you give yourself a chance to win this game.
Yes, most definitely. And just to show how well the Knicks played defense tonight, I'm just going to throw out a few statistics on the Jazz side to show their effectiveness on defense. So marketing, averaging nearly 22 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. Tonight, only 13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 of 11 from the field. Basically, Jazz main score was Olynyk, 27 points. So the Jazz had to find offense from somewhere else because the guys who usually provide the offense did not provide the offense tonight. Jordan Clarkson, 5 of 16 from the field, 15 points, 5 assists. Mike Conley, 3 of 10 from the field, only 10 points. Malik Beasley, who's been having a great season so far as well, shooting lights out from 3, 5 of 12 from the field, 14 points. So the Knicks showed way more effort on defense today. I was highly impressed with the defense. They definitely got out on 3-point shooters, which has been the Achilles heel for the Knicks basically all season. And since Mitch has gone down with the injury, Knicks defense has definitely gone down. But tonight they definitely showed the effort, and the effort on defense definitely produced the win.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention Cam Reddish and his effort on defense, who I thought was the standout player of the game. His ability to cover just about every single Jazz player on switches because they don't employ a traditional big. It didn't matter who he was on, whether it was Olynyk or Conley or Beasley. He was able to keep his man in front of him. There were a few times that he didn't recover on switches, and Beasley was able to leak out and drain some threes on him. I mean, Beasley's been an unbelievable three-point shooter, shooting well above his average metric this year. But besides that, inside of a three-point line, I thought Cam Reddish was really disruptive, playing the passing lanes, playing the defense on a block, and keeping the penetrators out of the teeth of a goal. And he did a really good job, I thought, overall, leading the team on defense, being very vocal and really knowing when to double and when not to double. I was very impressed with Cam Reddish's output on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Cam Reddish is definitely solidifying himself in the starting lineup. The way he's playing right now, if he keeps this up, the Knicks have to try to find a way to keep him, because the man is definitely showing his value on both sides of the ball at the moment. And he's definitely living up to what the expectations were from him going into the NBA. But like I said, if he has to keep this up, though, I want to see, like, if he's going to still be playing this way 40 games into the season, 60 games into the season. So that's what I want to see from Cam Reddish. But so far, he's been playing really well, and he's solidifying himself in the starting lineup. I cannot see anybody replacing him at this moment. So,
I would take it a little bit further, Ryan. I'm not worried about a 40-game sample size. I think that, like all of us agreed in preseason when we had our conversations about who should start at the 2, all of us were in agreement that Cam Reddish should start because he's the most talented between him, Fournier, and Grimes. I think he's absolutely proved that. He's shown a much better increased effort on defense, increased IQ and awareness offensively, getting other guys involved while still looking for a shot and taking advantage of mismatches. I really think the offense should become skewed toward him being a top 3 player on this team. I mean, my mind is already Julius Randle's out the damn door. Evan Fournier's out the damn door. Derrick Rose is out the damn door. I'm thinking about a year from now, we have a clean slate and we're really focused on the youngsters. To me, it should be Obi, Reddish, RJ. And I think at this point right now, I'm a lot higher on Reddish's ability than I am RJ, because I think he has a higher ceiling because of his athleticism, his length, his wingspan, and his ability to really on transition be a one-man fast break, which RJ cannot do. When Cam Reddish hits the basket, I don't worry or clench my ass because I don't know if he's going to finish around the hoop. Cam Reddish is going to finish around the hoop with either hand. I mean, the dude, he also is a great passer. The man's able to find open cutters or guys that are getting to the basket, or feed Obi on a lob, or find a shooter on the perimeter. He has an all-around game that I think has the potential to be even better than RJ Barrett. And we should start building our team and understand this summer. Give the man the bad, and let's start building around him. I'm all in on Cam Reddish.
Okay, the all in on Cam Reddish with just 14 games into the season? Okay.
Yeah, because we've never questioned the ability. The question is the effort. Can he put it all together and actually succeed with the tools that God gave him naturally? It's not like Grimes. Can Grimes put the ball on the floor? Can create off the dribble? Is he a 3-level scorer? Is he just 3 and D? We know what Reddish was capable of, and now he's showing it in full form and an opportunity as a starter, which he didn't always get in Atlanta, dude, I'm all on board. I really think his ceiling is really high, and we should begin to build our team around him, Obi and RJ. And Brunson, of course, but I'm thinking of the younger guys under the age of 25.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Like, I definitely agree that, you know, if you look at Reddish's game, if Reddish fulfills his potential, he does have the potential to be better than RJ as an all-around player. I definitely agree with that. But I'm still a bit on the cautious side, you know, because I don't know, I'm just Mr. Cautious. You know, it's 14 games into the season, so I'm just like, all right, I just want to see him play a full season that way. He proves to me that he can play a full season consistently like that. Then I'm all in. I'm like, yeah, you give Cam Reddish the bag. He's in the starting lineup, and the Knicks should start building around him and the other young guys around the team.
We haven't had very many players where when the game is close and on the line, it's a team that we really want to beat. That's better than us, but maybe we have more heart or we're hot that game. There's very few players we've had in the last decade that do everything they can and they raise their game to make sure that we pull out that win. Brunson's one of them. Reddish is the other. And because of that, like when IQ shoots, sometimes even Obi, Randall especially, RJ especially, my confidence level is not very high. With Reddish and Brunson, crunch time, give him the damn ball and move out the way. I trust him in isolation situations. I trust him in a pick and roll, and I trust him from three.
And there you have it. Lee has spoken. Okay, I'm going to shout out the chat right quick before we get to the next topic. Shout out Gregory Lee.
Let's go.
And Freud 929. L. Marshall.
L. Marshall.
Yes, JT Reddick. Packer Punch. Big Reaper. Who else? I saw Winston Ellis. I guess that's Jay Ellis' fake cousin. I think that's what he calls him.
Burner.
It's the best mod in the game. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Okay, so the next topic is Jalen Brunson.
My man.
So Jalen Brunson had a big game tonight. He led the Knicks in scoring, 25 points, 8 assists. But I think what made Jalen Brunson stand out tonight was the fourth quarter heroics, because Thibs was Thibbing tonight. He had the guys out there that increased the lead in the fourth quarter. He took out Obi, took out RJ, even though he put RJ back in eventually, but still. He took out Obi, RJ, put back in Randall, Brunson, and Brunson did what he had to do. He hit big shots towards the end of the game, which pretty much got the Knicks over the hump. What did you think of Brunson's game tonight, Reed?
Deja vu for Brunson. This was the playoffs last year. He knows, you know, this Utah Jazz perimeter backcourt. He's very familiar with like giving Conley the business. He cooked Conley tonight. Like absolutely, like he had no issue when they were in a pick and roll and Conley fought over the screen and was still in front of him on the perimeter. Brunson was like going to work. He gave him every move in his bag and burnt him. And really, the clutch shots that he hit, majority were on Mike Conley's old ass. And like I said, deja vu. It was a playoffs all over again. It was like one extra game for that playoff series. Brunson's been in Utah. He's embarrassed as Utah fans. I looked in the arena today, bro. Their fan base, man, everyone's had a substitute teacher. That is a corny ass fan base. I might do. Any of these people know anything about basketball? Like if this Utah team wasn't starting off to a hot start, would that arena even be to capacity? Would fans even show up? Like, bro, I can't stand that Utah Jazz fan base. Reminds me of Dallas. It's pasty, and I was really happy to see Brunson get back to work and cut those Utah Jazz.
Most definitely. Brunson definitely had a big game tonight. Definitely liked his fourth quarter heroics. I mean, the fact that every time he had the ball, he took Conley into the paint, backed him up. Conley got like an inch on him and still overpowered him and got shots over me. Like he pretty much bullied Conley all game tonight, and he made a lot of right reads, and he showed tonight why the Knicks signed him to that big deal in the offseason.
Yeah, man, it really goes a long way having a player who has that will to win. Brunson has it and Reddish have it. And I think it showed like how important those two guys, the focal point of the offense, needs to be. Moving away from Randall and to a certain extent RJ, and really starting to steam our team's offense toward the abilities of Brunson and Reddish is going to do his team a lot of good. And really start the minute differential of decreasing. I don't know why Grimes didn't play tonight, but decreasing the minutes away from Grimes, and luckily now we did Fournier, and really giving Cam Reddish that three spot and making sure that he's playing over 25, maybe even 28 minutes a game. Once we get Obi to 20, man, we're going to be good.
Yeah, most definitely. And since you brought it up, I do want to get into that topic because that was a topic I was going to bring up a bit later on. But since you brought it up, I might as well just bring it up now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Thibs tonight stuck with a 9-man rotation. He didn't play Fournier, which to me, understandable. Fournier has shown that off the bench he's been ineffective. He's not getting baskets, and you already know Fournier on the defensive end is a liability. So if Fournier is not scoring for you, he's pretty much useless. So I can understand the benching of Fournier. But he also benched Grimes as well, which, I mean, it worked tonight. The 9-man rotation worked, but you would think that, okay, if he's going to sit Fournier, why not give Grimes some minutes as well if he's healthy and, you know, you want to develop him as well. So what did you think of Thibs going to a 9-man rotation and not playing Fournier and not playing Grimes?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the reason for Grimes not playing. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more of that after the press conference early tomorrow. You know, when it's on rerun. But Fournier not caring, I don't care what the reason was that Fournier didn't play. I was happy to see it. The guy's lost a lot of confidence, not just in his shot, but his ability to be a playmaker, his ability to like score inside of a 3-point line. He's deferring a lot, and you can see the lack of confidence in his body language when he's out there on the court. He's always been a minus on defense. So the less he plays, the better. I would have liked to see a little more Deuce McBride tonight. I thought it would have been a good time to let Deuce have some minutes, especially since Utah plays so small. I didn't really see the necessity of always having a rim protector out there, even though I did like the minutes that Sims gave us. It could have been a night where Hartenstein gets a little bit more rest and we go a little bit smaller and have McBride have some opportunities, especially if Fournier and Grimes are going to play at all. So yeah, McBride was really the only guy that I thought should have played a little bit more and Hartenstein a little bit less because Olynyk is not a rim protecting center. You know, he's a stretch big who stays outside the paint most of the time. It would have been an opportunity to see what Deuce can do, especially against Clarkson, you know, who's a very attack-centric guard.
Yeah, the Knicks could have definitely tried McBride out tonight, you know, especially, you know, because the Jazz do play small. I'm not going to get on Thibs too much tonight because the Knicks did win, despite, you know, him fibbing in the fourth quarter and him sticking to a 9-man rotation and not really playing Grimes. You know, the only gripe I really have with it is, okay, like okay, so over the summer, we've been hearing how the Knicks, the front office, coaching staff, etc., view Grimes at such a high, you know, at such a high level. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like, okay, if you view Grimes so highly, why are you benching him for a whole game and not giving him Fournier's minutes since you decided to bench Fournier? Like, that's the only really beef I have.
Yeah.
But like you said, hopefully, you know, Thibs will go over it and talk about it in the morning because I'm pretty sure a reporter is going to bring it up. So hopefully we'll get our answer soon.
You know, it's another unfortunate example of the front office and coaching staff not being on the same page. Because Tibbs is not the one who's negotiating about Grimes and claiming behind the scenes that he's untouchable. That's the front office. That's, you know, Worldwide West, Leon Rose, Scott Perry, and the rest, Brock Aller. So it's one of many examples of the front office prioritizing players that Tibbs keeps on the bench. Obi Toppin's another great example of that. Cam Reddish was a great example of that last season. Jericho Sims has been an example of that. So, you know, it's unfortunate. The only way to mitigate these issues is to fire Tibbs, trade Randall, which would force the situation to resolve itself because now Obi Toppin would be your starting power forward. I mean, you could get the end of the bench Dicey Hashimoto to coach his team. And as long as Randall is not on the floor and Tibbs in on the sideline, Obi Toppin is going to play 30 minutes a game. And he wouldn't see what he's fully capable of. And this situation is not going to resolve itself until those two things are done. And I've seen the chat that some people think we might attach a pick to Fournier. Man, that might not be the case if we trade one of these players that maybe the whole fan base is not behind trading. Mitchell Robinson, I think, should be expendable. So should Emmanuel Quickly. I'm not against trading those guys. And if we can attach Fournier and get off that contract by trading Mitch, for maybe someone, a center or a big who can shoot the three, man, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, I'm not fully on board with trading Mitch as of yet, but I definitely hear your sentiments, though.
I'm not pushing for it.
Uh-huh.
I'm open to it. That's like my difference. I don't view Mitch or Quickly as untouchable and in the right deal for the right player. I would do it in a heartbeat, 100%. If it was, let's be crazy here, Anthony Edwards and Nas Reed in Minnesota, and they're coming over to us, and we're giving up RJ quickly, Mitch, and we toss in Fournier. I'm doing and a bunch of picks. I'm doing that in a heartbeat. And I think those are the type of situations that we can get off of Fournier's contract without attaching a first round pick to it, which I think should take precedence.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like, I don't believe anybody on the Knicks is untouchable. Like, I do think everybody on the Knicks everybody on the Knicks can be touched, but it just depends on the type of deal that's being done. Like, I'm not really a fan of just, moving Mitch, just to get a contract off the books or whatever the case may be. Like, to me, it has to be the right kind of deal for me to, really be on board with trading like Mitch, RJ, and players like that. Okay, so I'm going to get to the chat right quick. Shout out to chat. Gregory Lee, Sam Freud. Thanks for staying with us tonight. Fritz, the best mod of the game, the MVP, Pack a Punch, Big Reaper. We got Jails in the chat as well. In the comments, Nick of Time Show. Thanks for staying with us tonight. So the next topic I want to get to is the bench. Jericho Sims, 11 points, 13 rebounds. Provided great energy, and he had some monster slams, especially that one over Kessler. Yeah, quickly, 13 points off the bench. Toppin, like I said, he only had 9 points. To me, it seemed like he scored more than that. But he only had 9 points, 3 or 4 from 3, and plus 23 while he was in the game. So, what did you think of the bench production tonight for the Knicks?
The only bench player that I really care about is Obi Toppin, considering that RJ Barrett, Brunson, and Cam Reddish are the starters. Obi Toppin's the only bench player that I really, under no circumstances, but I want to trade. Again, I don't think anyone's untouchable, but I really want to keep Obi Toppin. So I think if he was given an opportunity to be fully unleashed, we would see a player that's either on par with Randall or just a little bit less in terms of his talent, but with a higher ceiling. The best thing about Obi Toppin tonight was it sits boards. That's been a point of concern with him, is that he's been a weak rebounder, consistently out of position, or leads too early to go down court for the fast break and isn't there for the offensive rebound. Tonight, he gave us 6 boards and 4 assists, showing his complete game. The fact that he only got 18 minutes is criminal. I'm sick and tired of this kid busting his ass, playing absolutely hard as he can, doing everything right, not making the mental mistakes he was as a rookie. And Tibbs still refuses to give us, man, consistent 25 minutes a game. Why are we not starting him and Randall at the same time? And it's a team that doesn't employ a traditional big man center. How long is this going to last? Like, does Leon Rose sit up in his high horse in MSG in the suites and look at this and say, this is okay? That there should be some type of conversation or a move that's made, whether it be trading Randall or forcing Tibbs to play them together, or suggesting, hey, maybe half the time of a game they're sharing minutes together, at least in the starting lineup, to give it a look. 18 minutes, the highest plus minus on a team, and he's buried on the bench, but out behind the player who gives you the most issues on and off the court. I don't get it, man. Ryan, I mean, we've talked about this to death. I really don't think we're ever going to escape the mediocrity and the purgatory that we're in right now until Tibbs is fired and Randall's moved.
I'll say this. Seeing that Tibbs shortened the rotation, you would think that there's extra minutes to be had, especially by one of those 4 bench players that he played. It seemed like the extra minutes went to Sims and Quickly, because Sims played 24 minutes, Quickly played 25 minutes. Just have a contrast between 2 players. So even though I wasn't mad at Randall's game tonight, I know he had the -12, which is pretty bad, and he didn't have a great shooting night per se, but I guess here's the comparison. Julius Randle, 31 minutes. Obi Toppin, 18 minutes. Julius Randle, 15 points, 5 rebounds, -12. Obi Toppin, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, plus 23. So based on what you see looking at the stats, Obi Toppin did have a better overall game, but I don't know. Like I said, I didn't agree with Tibbs taking Obi out in the 4th quarter, because that lineup increased the lead on the Jazz. And I feel like, okay, if those guys are playing so well to the point that they're breaking away from the Jazz, You keep those guys in the game to close it out. Why are you going to bring guys off the bench that are, kind of cold and expect them to close the game out? Luckily, Brunson was there and he hit some big shots towards the end of the game to really get the Knicks over the hump. But it's one of those Thibs things again where it's like, Thibs relying too much on quote unquote his guys, despite the fact that the guys that he has on the court are doing the work to get the Knicks over the hump to win that game.
Yeah, the sad thing is it doesn't even have to be this way. Like from the moment that Obi was drafted and Randall had his turnaround season, it didn't have to be a one or the other situation. We could have been playing them together, whether they're starting together or they're finishing together from the very get-go. Like Obi came in supposedly as a ready player. He was an older draft prospect. He was the best player in college at Dayton. We could have had an opportunity where he was in, his mentality is I'm ready to win now, and he can contribute on a veteran level in terms of his IQ and his abilities at Dayton. But Tibbs never gave that opportunity a chance because of his over-reliance on having a traditional big man at center and not wanting to give up, easy lanes to the basket. When really Obi Toppin has added a 3-point shot to his arsenal. Between him and Randall, you're going to score more points than your opponent if those two superior athletes are up front. Randall is a very good player. When I say I want to get rid of him, it's not because he's a bad player. It's because he's not the right fit for this team's timeline, the assets that we have, that we've worked hard to accumulate since Leon Rose took over, and even a little bit before that with Scott Perry. Like either play them together or move Randall so Obi can start. It's as simple as that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And now for the final topic tonight, before we get into, I guess, some fun things. RJ Barrett. So tonight, RJ Barrett played 37 minutes, 5 of 18 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3, 8 of 14 from the line, three rebounds, 4 assists, 18 points. Okay, so I understand that RJ Barrett has been under the weather, and he's been under the weather for the last few games or so. But there are some concerns about his game, mainly finishing at the rim, because again, tonight was another game where he drove to the rim consistently and was unable to finish at the rim. Are you concerned about RJ Barrett at the moment, Lee?
No, he's 22 years old. He's still figuring some things out. I think he has a very mature mindset where he has a bad game, certainly as he did in OKC, and he bounces back. Not necessarily he shoots super efficient or he scores a lot of points, but he does a lot of the little things. He'll still give you rebounds, assists. He'll still try to play his ass off on defense. I think overall he had a pretty effective game. I mean, he started and played a ton of minutes, and we still beat one of the hottest teams in the NBA. So I think overall his effort was really good. But man, he's a kid. I was wasted so many times when I was 22. I can't even reflect on what that time period was like and where my mind was at. So I got to give him a lot of props for his ability to bounce back after being benched in the OKC game, rightly so, by Tibbs. I thought so. That was the right move. But he has a really good rapport with Cam Reddish. And I really like their two-man game out there on the court. He's very familiar with Cam Reddish's game, knows his spots, knows how to find them. And I like the camaraderie they have out there. They're always boosting each other up when they're walking back to the bench during timeouts and in a quarter. So I really like seeing them play together. I think RJ, for the most part, has played better with Cam Reddish in the starting lineup than he did with Fournier. And I think Cam Reddish plays a lot better next to RJ as well. So I'm not worried about him. His 3-point shots have been better than expected this season than it was last, but it's his finishing around the rim that's hurt his field goal percentage, especially his 2-point field goal percentage. So once he always does, once he finds his groove, I think he'll be even better than he was last year, probably finishing out averaging 22 or 23. But no, I'm not concerned. I just want to see a little bit more efficiency and keeping his head up when he drives to the basket instead of looking down and forcing turnovers.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I think the only really big concern I have with RJ is just the finishing at the rim. Because I feel like we've been saying this for every season now, and this is pretty much his 4th season, and he's still struggling finishing at the rim. So it's kind of it's to a point now where it's when will that time come when he's going to be a consistent finisher at the rim? We're 4 years in now, and he still shows that he struggles to finish at the rim for whatever reason. So that's my only concern at the moment, because I feel like to be a good player in this league, you have to know how to finish at the rim. You have to be able to get easy shots and be able to finish those easy shots. And if he continues to struggle at the rim like he's been doing for like the last, like since he's pretty much got into the NBA, him being efficient is never going to happen, because he has to score those easy baskets. And I know we've been stressing that RJ Barrett needs to become more efficient. That's one of the things right there. So I think that's the only concern I have with RJ, because I'm like, I don't know if he'll ever become that efficient player if he continues to struggle at the rim like he's doing at the moment. Well, like he's been doing since he pretty much got into the NBA.
I think he will once the spacing and shooting on this team improves. Once the other guys on this team, once Brunson starts hitting more threes and hitting them at a better clip than below 30 where he's at right now, once Randall's shot gets going, once Cam Reddish's especially shot gets going, and perhaps maybe if Tibbs mixes things up and has someone who can hit 30 at the center position outside just Hartenstein, I think once the spacing improves and RJ's shot as well, where defenders that have been to guard him further out instead of just collapsing in the paint, waiting for him, they're watching film too. They know his tendencies. They know how to cut him off and where their footwork needs to be to make it the hardest possible drive for him. And there's usually at least 2 or sometimes 3 defenders waiting for him on those drives. And if you watch a tape, rarely when he drives does he pass back out. Usually he puts his head down and he's determined to get to the hoop. So once he cleans some of that stuff up and recognizes his deficiencies and the team improves themselves, that would create better spacing and better advantages for him driving to the basket. Right now it's Claude down there. I mean, Randall and Mitch and Reddish, they all operate and score. Brunson too, better inside of a 3-point line than out. So, there needs to be some changes made to the roster and some changes made to his efficiency from 3. So the defenders are having to close out a little bit more on him so he didn't blow by him when he drives to the basket.
Most definitely. Okay, so I'm going to get into some fun things at the moment. So I think Mac reposted, he tweeted something earlier today regarding Isaiah Hartenstein. So apparently Isaiah's fiance came out and said that the Knicks are not using her man right. And I don't know Isaiah's fiance, so I don't know if she knows the game or not. But for her to say that, it's one of 2 things. It's either A, she knows the game. She obviously watches her man play. She sees how the Clippers use Hartenstein and how he was effective with the Clippers. And she sees something different with how he's playing with the Knicks. And she just decided to bring it up because, of course, she's going to stick up for a man. Or it's B, pillow talk. Hartenstein comes home from the games. He's sleeping next to her. And he's like, baby, the Knicks are not using me right. And he's upset. So now people are saying this just adds fuel to the fire of getting Thibs out of here, because if he's having players and he's not using them right, and then on top of that, the Knicks are not playing all that well, what's the point of keeping Thibs here in New York? So, Lee, what are your thoughts of how the Knicks use Hartenstein, and do you believe that the Knicks are using him right?
I do not believe that they're using him right in totality. I did see in the 4th quarter, I got on Twitter, and his girlfriend, who's a model or an influencer, responded to that claim. I saw it on Jay Macri's Knicks Film Store Twitter, and said that she didn't say that. She more so said it was out of context. Apparently, she said that on her TikTok account. So I'm not on TikTok. I don't know if she said that or not. Barely even on Twitter. But I think if she did say that, there's a point. All you gotta do is look at the stats. The last 2 seasons with the Clippers before he joined New York, Hartenstein was averaging about 2.5 assists per game. He's down to just under 1. So I think that the stats themselves are showing that he's not being put into positions, or plays are not being ran where he's operating out of the high post, and the intention is to find cutters, get into the basket. They're primarily using him as an open 3-point shot in the corners or at the top of the key, or he's down low and he does that little like really quick release hook shot that he does, which he's pretty efficient at. But that's only as a scoring threat, but not really using him as a passer. And he has pretty good hands. And the dude can, I've seen him drop nutmegs when he was with the Clippers. He's able to find cutters to the basket, and Tibbs is not using him in that capacity because, as we know, Tibbs, thinking about the guys he's had in the past with the Knicks, Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson. It's been a while since I had Joakim Noah, who I'm not saying Hartenstein is Joakim Noah, but he has some of that ability. It's been a while since he's had a center who's been able to pass. So, he's really relying more on Randall to be that facilitating big than he is Hartenstein. I think we could see Hartenstein put in more positions to be able to find these guys, because with Cam Reddish in the lineup, it makes a lot more sense to have him in more of a facilitation mode.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know 100% how the Clippers used Hartenstein, because I've only watched the Clippers maybe a few games last season, and my focus wasn't on how are the Clippers using Hartenstein? You know what I mean? So I'm not going to sit here and act like I know how the Clippers use them, and I'm going to compare him to the way the Knicks are using him at the moment. The only thing I can say is based on what I've seen, according to his skill set, I do think the Knicks can use him a bit better. I'm not going to act like Thibs is doing a magnificent job in using Hartenstein to his strengths, because he's a big that can stretch the floor, which he has been doing. He can also pass the ball. He's a good passer. I don't see many opportunities for him to really. I don't see many opportunities where he's like the focal point and like, he has the ball, and then like you have players moving off ball, and then he's able to like find players cutting to the basket and things like that. Like I don't see that used often when he's on the ball. And I just think that with the way the Knicks roster is at the moment and Thibs like lineups and stuff like that, the way, like for example, Hartenstein with Randall, RJ, and those guys, like Hartenstein is never going to be that focal point where it's like, okay, he has the ball in his hand, players are going to move off the ball, and he can find them and get easy baskets. The offense is always going to be run through Randall, RJ, and those guys. So those guys are going to have the ball the majority of the times, and that's going to, of course, lessen his effectiveness. And he's only going to really be used in like, say, like pick and roll situations and stuff like that. So, of course, can Thibs use Hartenstein better? Of course they can, but at the same time, it's like with the way the Knicks roster is set up and the way Thibs, and the guys that Thibs trust to, actually run the offense, like, it's clear that, Hartenstein is going to be used different here in New York than he was used in Clipperland.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that you're right. He's not going to be the focal point of the offense when he's starting, but he also hasn't been that off the bench either when he's playing with the reserves. And I'm looking at his stats right here in comparison to his last season with the Clippers. And this is a career high for minutes per game. He was at 17.9 last season. He's at 25.1, and his shooting splits are down across the board except for free throw shooting. He's only shooting 55% compared to 62 last season field goal percentage. And from three, he shot 47%, granted with limited attempts, but this season he's only shooting 21% from three. So I think overall his effective field goal numbers are down as well. His rebounding numbers are up, but I think the expanded role and the increased minutes is something that he himself is so getting used to, especially as a starter. That's something that didn't happen a whole lot last year. I can't remember Zubac being out for an extended period of time, but with that injury to Mitch, not only was he trying to acclimate himself to a new team, he's doing so as a starter now too, playing with guys that in practice he's not used to playing with. He's usually playing against while he's blue shirt with the reserves. So it's probably a difficult situation for him to become accustomed to. But that's a situation where I think as the season goes on, he's going to become more and more effective and more multidimensional because of his comfort level is going to rise.
Most definitely. So I want to shout out the chat right quick. Shout out to Gregory Lee, Fritz, best mod in the game, picks for Timmy, we outside, L. Marshall, Who else is here? Pack a Punch is still here. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us tonight. One more topic I really want to get into. So if you've been checking the news lately, Quickly has popped up in trade rumors. And I know we haven't touched on this as of yet. So, of course, teams are looking at the Knicks. They see we have 3 point guards that we use. Brunson, Rose, Quickly. They already know Brunson, that's no chance. Brunson's not going to be traded. You have Rose and Quickly. Of course they're going to go after Quickly because Quickly is the younger guard. Quick. Are you trading Quickly?
Yeah, I think if the right deal presents itself, I'm game for it. And it's funny, this leads into something that I wanted to bring up that our great mod-in-chief, Fritz Alcindor, posted on Twitter. He posted a meme of how he would fix the Knicks, and it involved trading Quickly. And the package that he put together was Mitchell Robinson, Emmanuel Quickly, and the 2023 Detroit protected first-round pick that I believe we got from the draft day trade with OKC. And in that trade, we're seeing those 3 assets are Golden State for Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman. Now, I saw this trade and immediately was a little gut-wrenching because I'm like, that's a huge downgrade going from Mitchell Robinson to James Wiseman, who's played like absolute ass this season. But the Kuminga, interesting. That he's an anomaly. I'm not really sure what direction his career is going to go. I think he's probably a more skilled an NBA-ready player than Wiseman is, at least mentally. And Kuminga had some great moments in the playoffs last season, especially against Dallas Mavericks, when they went to small ball 5. There was a game or two where he really caused havoc in the paint, especially as an offensive rebounder. So that's a trade I would consider. But like that trade, when I see Emmanuel Quickly's name mixed into it, I'm not gagging. Like I'm okay with getting rid of Quickly if it means you're bringing in 2 lottery picks, especially Wiseman, who was a number 1 pick and still has a potential in the right scenario. But I don't want to see Emmanuel Quickly as an asset we need to get rid of, or would be included in just any trade. It has to be the right trade, and it has to bring in a definite need that we have on the roster. And Kuminga could be that as a small ball 5. There's additional trades that he made. That wasn't the only one that he proposed. He also had Randall, Rose, and McBride for Ben Simmons, which I'm definitely against. I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute. I understand why he's doing it. He's trying to unload those contracts and bring in a guy that we can possibly be a reclamation project. And then he also wanted Johnny Davis as a head coach and Steve Nash as an assistant. I don't want Steve Nash anywhere near our franchise. I think he's one of the bummest coaches I've seen since David Fizdale. So I'm also against that one too. But I'll get your thoughts on it.
Okay, so the Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman trade.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thing. Kuminga is the guy where I'm like, okay, I see some promise with Kuminga, and if he develops the way you expect him to develop, he could possibly be a player down the line. My only concern is the Mitch and James Wiseman switch, because like you said, this season James Wiseman he's been playing he's been trashed this season to the point where the Warriors sent him down to the G League because he needs to still work on his game. And I'm like, we already have Mitch here, Mitch cleans up a lot of the Knicks' mistakes on defense. Sure. And he's a rim protector, even though James Wiseman is a rim protector as well, but Mitch's IQ on defense is way higher than Wiseman at the moment. I know Wiseman has a higher ceiling, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to get rid of Mitch and bring in another young big where you just don't know where he's going to get to at the moment because he's struggling. So that's my only concern about that trade. Maybe if it was another player instead of Mitch, I would probably consider and be like, okay, just to bring Kuminga here. But that's my only concern with that trade. Now the other one with Ben Simmons, I understand it as well. You're getting rid of Randall, you're getting rid of Rose, and getting rid of those 2 guys is going to open up time for Obi. It's going to open up time for possibly Grimes as well. And you bring in Ben Simmons where, okay, Ben Simmons is not going to give you anything offensively, but defensively, he's going to produce on the defensive end. So I get the thinking around it. I don't know if I'm fully on board with that trade, but the way Simmons has been playing with the Nets so far, I don't know if I can live with bringing Simmons in on like a crazy contract he's on right now, like 4 years, 150, 160 mil, somewhere around that area. And he's only going to give me like 4 points a game.
If that.
He was like, I don't know if I'm with that at the moment, but I mean, it's great things to think about and, trying to think about different trade scenarios or, what the Knicks can do to try to fix the team. Because we all know sooner or later, the Knicks are going to have to make some moves. There's no way around it. It's gonna happen. So,
yeah, though I think he didn't outwardly say this, but when I look at those trades that he was proposing, it screamed to me like tank. Like we're officially embracing a full-on rebuild mode, and we're making these trades to increase our potential of getting a good draft pick the following season or this summer. Because Ben Simmons still has 2 more years on his contract, ascending. Next year's $37 million, the year after is $40 million. That's a lot of money to pay for a guy who's trying to be like 4, 7, and 7, on a nightly basis. And I agree with Jay Ellis in chat. He ain't built for MSG. I mean, he's already buckling under pressure with the Nets. Imagine when he goes to a real NBA franchise, or at least one with a real fan base that's going to boo the hell out of him on a nightly basis and roast him on the internet, without mercy when he plays bad or under expectations. We might end up seeing a did not play for an entire season, because of his lack of mental fortitude. So those trades give you some potential, but will that potential ever actually actualize itself? I think the odds are against it. Kuminga is the one player that I'm really interested in that he mentioned. I know Fritz is real high on Kuminga, so I wanted to give him some shine for putting it out there in his attempt to fix the team and let us discuss it. And the chat can go wild with it as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely would not mind bringing in Kuminga if there was a way to do so. And we have a super chat.
Let's go.
Samir Soriano says, good win against another team missing a superstar.
Not due to injury.
All right.
Not due to injury, just due to makeup of a team. But, marketing's been playing really well. I think the important to realize that I don't think Utah will end up being what they are now at the end of the season, but they are super hot. So that's the thing that I'm leaning on. We beat a team that's really hot right now, playing elite basketball on both sides of the ball, under a really good young coach who has a system in place to get guys to reach their full potential. That's everything I wish the Knicks had. I agree with another thing Fred said. If we do get another coach, whoever it is, whether it's Johnny Bryant or someone else, they need to come in with a system in place on how to get guys in the best position to succeed. And, I don't want it to be another Mike Miller situation, who was a decent coach, but really came in just to try to fix the mess that Fizdale laid.
Most definitely. And I think I'm going to end it there because I know it's late. People got to go to bed. People got to go to work in the morning. So I'm going to end it right here. Thank you for those who have stayed with us throughout. Tomorrow, the Knicks face the Nuggets. The full crew is going to be back. Jealous is going to be back on the 1s and 2s. And we're going to be here supporting them, as always. So tune in for that tomorrow. Lee, let them know where they can find you.
You've done a great job, Ryan. These last 2 games, it's been really fun doing the Knicks breakdown with you. I think you're a great host. Always a great, number 2 man to Jay Ellis, but I want to give you your flowers. You did a really good job holding down the fort. You always bring the stats and the facts, and I enjoyed our good, healthy debates that we've had here on the pod. So you can find me on Twitter, talking mad shit, at _Lee Escobedo, LEESCOBEDO. I'm actually on the biggest run of my freelancing career, bro. I've just been churning out stories. There's so much to write about in the NBA right now. The league is really a mess in a lot of different ways, and I've been trying to cover it the best that I can. So I got stuff. This week I had 3 stuff for Post and Toasting, 5 stories for Deadspin. I turned in my first piece for ESPN, so should be getting edits back on that next week. And it's staying busy, man. Another 10 stories in the chamber to be coming out.
Lee doing big things as always, and of course, thank you for assisting me in running the show without Jay Ellis, because I definitely needed someone to speak to, and you definitely keep the conversation flowing. So I definitely appreciate that, with knowledge as always.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. You can find me on Instagram at Sergius Chillin. That is SIRG. It's CHILLIN. You can also find me at Sergi's Corner on Instagram, and you can also find me at Ryan G KLT on Twitter. And that is our show. See y'all tomorrow night after the Knicks take on the Nuggets.
Yeah, fire Tibbs.
Peace, everyone.
Later.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.